Alright folks, as I told y'all about over a month ago now, um, I was going to do a little bit of a review on the Ram Cummins 2500 I got back in beginning of October, I believe it was. But anyway, had a few minutes here, and it's warmed up enough uh, here today that I don't have to wear a boggin or full overalls to stay warm, not at least for a little bit longer anyway until the sun starts going down. But anyway, I thought I'd go over this truck a little bit and where I am with it right now, and tell you what my thoughts are, and likes and dislikes, etc. I guess. I know some of you showed some interest in the truck when I got it and whatnot. But anyway, I also want to do this video a little bit for those or anybody that might be looking to purchase one of these trucks. That might just want a little bit of information about it, and I want to kind of do this review on the or from the farmer's point of view, I guess I should say. I know a lot of people get these trucks and have them as daily drivers and just occasionally maybe tow or haul with them, if ever. Some people have them just, to have a diesel truck, and nothing wrong with that. But there's some people out there that may want, they want to buy this truck to work at it. The majority of, I guess, buyers probably buy these trucks to work at it. Because I mean you pay the premium price for a heavy duty truck with a diesel engine to do that sort of thing. So I just thought I'd take a few moments and kind of walk around the truck and let you kind of get a feel for what my thoughts are on it. And for those of you that are finding this video and aren't necessarily subscribers to my channel, but just are running across this to get some information in your own research or whatever, or if you have one of these and just want to see how mine's holding up compared to yours, or whatever the case may be. I did want to go over this and kind of give you the point of view from the farming use standpoint, using it around here to tow and haul multiple different things that I have here, and also explain it from a daily driver standpoint, because I do have a day job other than just farming, and I do commute with this truck 2 hours a day every weekday. So that's another perspective on the truck altogether there. So I'll try to explain a little bit as to why I chose this truck, but just to give those of you that haven't that aren't subscribers to my channel and are just finding this video for informational purposes, whatever, in your searches, I won't go through the whole history of my experience with Dodge or Ram trucks and the Cummins engines, but I will just list here what I have had, so that those of you watching this understand that I'm not doing this video very just blindly. This is not my first Dodge Ram Cummins truck, so this is just to let you people know that some of the things I'm going to be talking about here in this truck in the review are in comparison to the previous Dodge Ram Cummins trucks that I've had, and this is not a first time experience. So just to list those off again, this is my 5th Cummins Ram truck. Yes, I've had one too many trucks, and that does not include all the other different vehicles I've had in that time. But anyway, just to list the trucks, list them in order by their age. I had a 2001 Dodge Ram 3500 regular cab flatbed Dilly 5.9 Cummins with the 5-speed manual transmission, the NV 4500, I believe it was. And then after, in order next would be the 2005 2500 4-door long wheelbase. Again, 4-wheel drive, and it had the 6-speed manual, which was the NV 5600. Then I had briefly a 06 Mega Cab Dilly 4-wheel drive, 6-speed manual, which was the G56 6-speed manual. I did not like that manual compared to the New Venture manuals. Of course, the New Venture manuals, or the NVs that I was referring to, are not in production any longer for these trucks anyway, if not in production at all, I don't believe. But anywho, the G56 transmission, I believe, is still currently the same transmission that's sold in them now as far as the manual goes. There may have been some changes in the clutch operation, I'm not sure. Anyway, had the 06. Then, of course, the 06 was the 5.9. Then I jumped up to the 6.7 liter in a 2008 3500 4-door Dilly 4-wheel drive, first automatic transmission there, and I ran that truck for about 3 years here on the farm. It was a Dilly bed. I did convert it to a flatbed, but anyway, had that one, and then that leads me to this one here, which is a 2015 2500 6-speed automatic, 4-wheel drive, as you can see. But anyway, the 08 and this one here, this 15, had the emissions equipment. Now there are some differences in the emission equipment from the 08 to this 15 model here, and this truck has the DEF fluid, or diesel exhaust fluid, if you don't know what that is, and the 08 did not. And there are some changes to the after treatment components of the exhaust system between the 08 and this truck. Similar but different. So anyway, I'll just that's just a brief history of what I've had here. So I'll start going over the truck here now. Yeah, as I've already said, it's a 2500 standard bed. It's not a long bed. It is the crew cab, which I don't know on these trucks if they even have the 4-door, what would be called the quad cab, anymore. But they do offer the long wheelbase, or the standard box. This is the standard box, but with the crew cab, it's, you know, almost like having a, say, a regular cab long wheelbase truck, or a, what would have been called the quad cab with a long wheelbase box on it. But anyway, the truck is dirty. I haven't never washed the truck since I bought it back in October. I've just used it. Used it and drove it. It's got a little over 7,000 miles on it now. Remember right, we'll look at that here in a minute. But I have not had it stuck yet here on the farm. However, a couple weeks ago I got really close. having it stuck. These are good trucks as far as off-road capability for a truck this size. Um, you know, they got the good full drive system and you know, the solid straight front axle and all. But these tires that came on this truck, they're Firestone Transforce HTs, which they're not bad tires. They're more of a highway street tire in my opinion. They don't have much aggressive tread to them at all, and they don't hold in mud or sticky situations really any. So I'm not gonna just run out and change them, but they are what they are. I'm just gonna run them till they need to be changed and put something a little bit more aggressive, more of a all-terrain tire on here. Nothing too aggressive, but something that'll hold a little bit better in wet, muddy conditions. The problem I'm having with these tires, there's no side-to-side traction, so the truck will slide sideways if you're on a slick spot in the mud, like out in the pasture or something like that, and you can't turn. It won't steer. You just turn the wheels and keep going straight or whatever direction it was going in, or the truck will start getting kind of sideways on you. But again, I having had these trucks before, I know what they're capable of with a decent tire, so that's just the tire in my opinion. This truck does have, if I can get a shot of it up under here, the rear coil suspension on the back here. You might can see the coil there and sway bar and whatnot, and the frame is redesigned a little bit different to accommodate that. But that was introduced in 2014, I believe it was, and I was a little skeptical of that before I purchased the truck. I actually did some research on it a little bit before I bought it, because I didn't know how well it would hold up, and that sun's coming out there and getting the camera shot. But anyway, I seen some good reviews and people talk good about it, so I figured I'd go ahead and try it out. But I think the idea behind that was with the coil suspension, it would give you a softer ride, not such a stiff ride as with other 3/4 ton or ton trucks with leaf spring in an unloaded condition. And I have to say, it does have a fairly good ride to it for a 3/4 ton truck. I mean, you don't get in it and think, oh, you know, this thing rides like a half ton. I mean, you still know that it's a heavy duty 3/4 ton truck, but it don't seem just quite like it jolts you around as much as some of my previous trucks, as far as just being really stiff. But under load, you know, with a gooseneck trailer on here or whatnot, you know, it stiffens up and holds its own pretty well. So, you know, I give that a thumbs up, the rear coil suspension on that. And the other thing it allowed them to do, this truck don't have, that is an option on these trucks, is to use airbags in place of those coil springs. And you can do load leveling and stuff, which, you know, you're gonna pay for that kind of upgrade, but to some people that maybe tow a trailer every day, or maybe a cross country camper towing, whatever, that might be worthwhile to you. But again, I bought this as a daily driver and farm truck. I've tried several things. You know, I had a half-ton truck leading up to this, and I had the ton truck. Tried running 2 trucks, a dedicated farm truck, and then either smaller half-ton as a daily driver, and I just prefer to have one truck. And you got two trucks, you got, two insurances you're paying on, two things you're trying to upkeep, and all that jazz. So I got back down to just one truck. The only disadvantage is if this truck has a breakdown, I'm going to be kind of out altogether, but that's just a chance I'll have to take. But I do have access to other trucks, I guess you could say, in the family that could help me out. I guess if that came to it, but hopefully that won't be a big deal. Anyway, if you've made it this far in the video, just bear with me. I'll get to it in a minute. I'm gonna try to do a thorough video here of this. Anyway, I do have gooseneck ball here in the truck. As you can see there, it is the B&W turnover ball. You got the handle right here. It pulls out as the latch. These trucks, if you notice these pieces of metal here, I don't know if you can see it on the video, but there actually is a cross piece. Actually, I'm wrong. It's not those pieces. It's right up here. There's a cross piece already running through there for a gooseneck hitch and ball. But it doesn't have this truck didn't have the hole in the bed and the supporting pieces for that, so I bought the B&W hitch that bolts up in there from underneath, and had the hole cut in the bed, and that dropped in. Some of these trucks do come on the lot prepped for a gooseneck ball and fifth wheel drop-in hitch. This one didn't have it. I did see one on the lot. It was a two-wheel drive truck that was prepped for that, but you might see that if you're out looking at these trucks. But this one, like I said, all I had to do was get the B&W plate that bolted up in there, and it was good to go. The toolbox, that came off my last half-ton. No big deal. I did have trailer wiring put in right here, 7-way for the gooseneck. Had the bed liner put in. It didn't come with the truck. I just kind of bought this truck bare bones. I mean, it's got a few nice little upgrades to it, but like I said, I just needed a daily driver and something to work out of here on the farm. It does have backup camera, which is standard on them, I believe now. I do miss the tailgate on my Chevy. The tailgate you may have seen on the GMs. It has the slow let up and down tailgate. This one don't. If you let it down, it'll just slam down. But that's that's not a big deal. The Chevy also had the step inserts right here on the bumper, where you could put a shoe there and crawl up. You could grab right here and crawl up in the bed. That was a good idea. They probably got a patent on that. I don't know. The Rams don't use that, but I mean, for me, if I'm hooking up to a trailer, I just crawl up on the tire and jump in there and get it done. I do wish the truck had mud flaps on it. I could put some on it pretty easy. As you can see, it's getting stuff all over the step there. I've had to pull this down the pasture a couple times, and it piled up with mud there. And when I got out, I got it all over tennis shoes I had on at the time. Which, that was one of the times I almost got stuck. And I'm glad I got out of that, because all I had on me was tennis shoes. It wouldn't have been too pretty. I had to pull down the pasture one night and look for a couple of cows, and I was in a hurry, and I just drove off in there, and it had been raining, and I figured he'd come in and out of there okay, but it was just tacky enough that I could not got out. It was it actually stopped on me once, forward movement. I backed up and was able to reposition a little bit and got some more traction, but it barely crawled out of there. But anyway, what next? Like I said, it does have DF. That's your little cap there for the diesel exhaust fluid. It just goes right in there. If you buy the little Blue Def canisters of it, they're like 2.5 gallon. The little tube comes with them, goes right down in there. You also notice this does not have a fuel cap. You can buy a fuel cap. This has a little bit of a lip to it that will go on here, but there's two flaps in here. I think one kind of keeps water out and the other one is the entrance to the tank. So you gotta push your nozzle down in there on that. It's not a big deal. Hasn't caused me any problems as of yet, other than worry about water or trash getting in that. But this does have kind of a rubber seal around it here, so when you close that, it's sealed up in there. So as long as you've got that closed, it should be keeping it fairly clean. You can see dirt and stuff, mud has been by here, but nothing has gotten inside, so seems to do its job. The steps did come on the truck. They are aftermarket Weston Protrax 4. So it's written on those. The factory Dodge step that comes on these trucks is a little bit different, and I believe it comes all the way back here to the wheel. I didn't like those because they sat down a little bit lower, and I didn't like how, when they set lower and come back here, and you look at your center of axle point, to say something sitting right here, this can flex in an off-road situation. Say you got to drive over a small limb or log, something like that. I was worried about that step might catch something and get bent when I seen those on the other truck. So when I seen these steps on this one, I liked that a little bit better. They set up a little higher and wide. The only disadvantage of that is they're tucked in a little tighter, so your boot and the shoe, if you don't step on the edge, will hit right here. But it's not a big deal for me. Might be for some people. The truck does not have the tow mirrors on it. That was something I wanted, but did not have them. But the way this deal was working, I didn't really have a choice but to take them, because this was the one I wanted. I did, like I said, there was one truck ahead of this one I was trying to buy, and it got bought out from under me before I could get it, so this was the next available one I found that I liked. It also does not have the marker lights on the roof, or clearance lights, whatever you want to call those. I am okay with that. They look okay, but honestly, my 08 leaked. And let's see, my 08 leaked. Did my 01? I think my 01 leaked too. Yeah, it did. There was two of them that had the marker lights that leaked around the seals. On the 08, I sealed them up. Now that truck was black, and there was you can see that little receiver. That's like the XM satellite radio, whatever, satellite receiver on the roof. There was one on the back end of the cab on the 08, and it leaked too. I had to put some silicone, just a real light film of silicone around and fixed it. Now the clearance light actually took it off and siliconed it underneath and put it back down. So it's easy fix, but they did leak. Now, like I said, the 08 was black, and I worried about black paint and heat, it sitting out in the sun, if it deteriorated the seals or the sealant under those at a faster rate than, say, the silver or white or a color that don't absorb so much heat. anyway, yeah, don't have the marker lights, and I'm okay with that for that reason. I don't have to worry about that, although it does have that receiver up there, which may or may not give me trouble down the road, who knows. But I do wish I had tow mirrors. These are just standard mirrors. For all practical purposes, they're fine. But they are a little bit too narrow for my gooseneck trailer with a load of hay on it. So I do wish I had a little bit more of a extension out on these mirrors, which, you know, the tow mirrors would flip out here kinda. So but anyway, it didn't have them, and you know, there was another guy lined up about to buy this truck, so it was one of those deals where I just went ahead and got it because I knew I was going to regret it if this one got away. For the deal I was working. But anyway, so it does have tow hooks on the front, no fog lights. Again, this is a tradesman package, so it's the base package with a few upgrades. It has the chrome package, so that gives the chrome grille and chrome bumpers. It did have the pinstriping added, which is a nice touch if it lasts. A little ram emblem right there. Let's see, standard wheels. I guess those chrome. Those are chrome. They're pretty dirty, but the chrome wheels are more of just a plastic hubcap kind of thing. That may have been an upgrade over just a plain steel wheel with the chrome package. But again, the truck is dirty, and that's just how it's going to be right now, because it's been wet and muddy enough around here that I ain't going to take time to clean it because it's just going to get right back muddy. So I'll step over here into the inside. I'll just go ahead and show you the back. I've got it full of stuff. This is the crew cab here, and I'm just using it for storage pretty much, but there's storage here under the seat. If I didn't have anything laying in there, I'd show you that. And you know, there's ample room for passengers back there. I do like that over the quad cab versions that they used to have. A little more room. Basic door panel here, basic window controls, door lock controls, just kind of a basic hard plastic here. Nothing to write home about or anything like that. This is a cloth. Several of these trucks were vinyl, a work grade vinyl that I'd looked at. This was the only one I seen with cloth. And I think I like the cloth better than, say, the vinyl. I have had leather interior in the past. The 08 was leather, and that last half ton I had was leather. Heated seats are nice on those, but if you're not going to have heated seats, I think I like the cloth. We'll see how it holds up over time getting in and out. I tend to use the step getting in and out, so hopefully I won't wear these sides too much, as you see in some vehicles that have been used. Truck does have a different kind of key. It's not really a key. It does have a key in it. If I can work this, it just have like an emergency key that clips up in the back here. But anyway, the key goes in this funny little slot here, and it just kind of plugs in, and you just operate it like any other key at that point. You can see my mileage there, 7,166 miles is what I got on the truck so far. pull that back out for a second. This does have the 5-inch touchscreen display radio. There is a I think they call this the Uconnect 5.0, and there's a Uconnect, I think 3.0 or 3.5, something like that, which is a non-touchscreen radio. Then in the upper level trucks, SLTs, Bighorns maybe, and on up into Laramie, Longhorn Laramies and those, you got the Uconnect 8.0, I think. Anyway, it's a bigger full-size touchscreen, and those trucks also have a different instrument panel layout than this truck. Again, this is the Tradesman, the base truck. The last truck I had, the Chevy Silverado, had the 7 or 8 inch display radio, and it was good, but I like this better, even though it's smaller. This radio just functions better. Heat and air controls. It does have trailer brakes integrated. I do like that. There's also settings in here where you can set multiple trailer brake configurations. So like me, if you've got multiple trailers with trailer brakes, I've got 1, 2, 3. It's got 3 right now. Is that right? Yeah. I've got three trailers that have electric brakes on them. So I can configure those per trailer in here in menus. And I'm not going to take time to go through all the menus today. Traction control, tow haul mode, diesel exhaust brake, and parking sensors off. Some of the trucks I drove had another row of auxiliary buttons right here, and this one does not have that, which is fine. I don't really have anything I need them for right now. 12 volt here, USB port for the radio here, and I got stuff in here, but there are more USB auxiliary and another 12 volt here under the console. Place for spare change and storage. This truck did, if I can get this to come up, it has a storage under here. It does have a CD player under there, which is well, I got a seat belt wedged in here. Like I said, it does have a CD player option in this truck, which I use rarely, but I do have it. Some cubby holes here, glove storage there, and then your actual glove compartment there. Basic lights up here. There is a little light right here. You may can see it, that shines down in here and illuminates the area at night. Anyway, basic steering wheel control, cruise control, and then buttons for your menus there that light up here in the dash. The manual four-wheel drive. This was also the only truck that I drove that had the manual four-wheel drive, and I do prefer that because it is manual. There is no electric knob or electronics that can go bad or fuses short out, actuators, etc., that could prevent the four-wheel drive from operating. So I actually got the manual four-wheel drive there, and I have used that a lot already in the 7,000 miles, so be well worth it. Also, with the manual four-wheel drive, you get this console down here, and that's something the electric knob four-wheel drive trucks did not have. That was just an open area with carpet, so you get this extra console and storage. Oh me. So anyway, how long? We're 35 minutes into this almost. Let's move on out here under the hood. Get this up here. Alright, so here's the big bad 6.7 liter Cummins turbo diesel, as a lot of people would say, I guess. As you can see, there's some water spots and stuff in here. That's from going up and down these gravel roads that are wet, and I have weighted a little water with this in the flooding we had on Christmas Day. Of course, some of you that are my subscribers seen the video of some of the flooding, but that evening I did actually wade some really deep water with the truck. It was high enough it probably got up here into the fan, possibly. I don't know. It may have made a wake big enough it didn't get in there, but yeah, it's sprayed some water all around. But anyway, I've had no issues with the motor. Except one. And it still has the issue. I was actually going to possibly look at that this afternoon. But there is a exhaust leak on one of these, because this is one right here, these little band clamps. There's 6 of these band clamps. There's 3 up here on the EGR, exhaust gas return. There's one right here, one right here, there's one right there, and there's 3 on that, and then there's 3 down here on the actual exhaust system, which I'm not going to be able to show you, but from the turbo back there. One of them leaks exhaust when the truck goes into regen mode, a passive regen mode, and I will get exhaust in the fresh air vents. As long as you're moving, you don't get it. But if you stop at a stop sign or red light or something and sit for a minute, you will smell it if it's going through a passive regen. From everything I've read online, it's these clamps. I just need to tighten on them a little bit, and I have not done that yet. But like I said, it only happens during an active regen and when you're setting still. You can push your air onto recirc, and it'll quit pulling fresh air, and it'll go away, and until the passive regen is over. But other than that, I've had no issues with the motor. I have not ever seen any leaks or anything like that going on. Everything's dry and tight. The truck, these trucks do have a 15,000 mile oil change interval, which is quite long, you know, due to what people traditionally give as a time frame for changing the oil. However, I've noticed, you know, a lot of these tractors and stuff are 400 or 500 hour oil change intervals, and one of the things I've noticed is, you know, 15,000 miles may seem like a lot, but if you're comparing that to these tractors, look at it here. If you're comparing hours to hours on this truck, let's go back out of here and go up to vehicle info there, and drop down one. You'll see there the truck has got approximately, let's just round up to 200 hours. So I'm nearing the halfway point for a 15,000 mile oil change interval. Well, it's got around 200 hours on it, so that means that the truck, given my driving habits that continue the same here, is going to have around, say, 400, 450 hours on it when I go in for the first oil change. If I take it in, I get the first so many free, uh, but I question what oil and filters and stuff they're going to use. So I don't know. I may do it myself. It's what I've always traditionally done on these trucks. As a matter of fact, I've never had the oil changed on any of my diesel trucks by anyone else. I've always done it myself. Um, but um, so hours to hours comparison, that's that's not too many hours, I would say, for changing the oil. So I'll go ahead and probably let it go on out to the 15,000 miles on it, and be happy with that, because like I said, I'm changing once a year on these tractors, and I'm putting 400 to 500 hours on them, and that's the recommended interval. So that don't seem to be a problem with them. I don't see it being a problem here. Uh, but anyway, seeing that DEF gauge there made me think. DEF usage. I've only put 5 gallons in this truck. 2.5 gallon containers of it. Um, I'm on that second one right now. The first one went exactly about 2,500 miles before I put any in. And this last one, I got close to 3,500 miles. So that's over 1,000 miles to the gallon. Um, I'm I'm getting when I'm driving it during the week and I'm not around the farm, idling around or pulling, I'm getting in the 22 mile per gallon range on fuel usage. I have hit 23 on some weeks. It'll get 22.9 to 23. It'll bounce right there around at it. And the DEF usage is a direct ratio to how much fuel you're using. It's like 50 to 1 or something like that. So, well, I say that. I don't know if that's right or not, but it's a ratio like that. I may be thinking of a two-stroke engine saying the 50 to 1 oil mix, But anyway, what I'm getting at is, the better fuel mileage you get, obviously the less DEF it's going to use. So, me getting good fuel mileage numbers with the truck has allowed me to use less DEF. So that's a good thing. Um, and another thing, I came to this truck from a half-ton Chevy that had the 5.3 liter V8, and it had the uh, kind of active fuel management V8, where it worked off 4 cylinders under light load versus 8 cylinders for improved fuel economy. And that truck got around 21, 22 miles to the gallon gas. As a daily driver, this truck is getting the 21, 22, bumping 23. Of course, diesel is higher than gas, but still for a daily driver, I'm pleased with that. And that's one advantage of this truck over my '08, and it has to do with the emission system and improvements there. Adding the DEF was one of them. My '08, which was a 6.7, no DEF, it got 18, 19 tops on fuel mileage. It did have a different rear axle ratio than this truck, so that could be a slight part to that. But this truck does get the better fuel mileage than that truck. And this truck does have a smaller diesel particulate filter and treatment system, after treatment on that end of things, compared to my '08. So it's maybe less restrictive, and it may regen more often. I'm not sure. I never did really notice my '08 regen that often. This truck I've noticed regen several times, but I do have the exhaust leak. When I smell it, I know it's going through a regen. Of course, you get out of the truck and everything's hot under there, because if you don't know what a regen is, it's burning diesel on the exhaust stroke and getting the exhaust system really hot to burn the particulates out of the diesel particulate filter as ash and push them on through the exhaust system as clean exhaust. and it gets that system up to something like 1200 degrees Fahrenheit or more. I don't know, it gets it up pretty hot, and you'll, first time it happens, you'll obviously smell it and notice it going on when you get out of the truck, if it's still going on when you get out of the truck. But anyway, so as far as the DF and all that's concerned, I mean, I've been getting DF for about $11 per the 2.5 gallon. I could probably, it's starting to show up at fuel stations and stuff around. I hadn't bought any yet at a service station, but it is obviously cheaper to get it out of a pump. But it's not widespread around here. I've just been getting those jugs, so it's minimum extra cost for me so far. Well, this video's turned out to be a lot longer than I thought. The engine's plenty powerful. Got no complaints on that. It's just like all the other ones I've had. It just, when it gets down to it, it just pulls. And that's what they do. They're just good at it as far as the motors are concerned. They just, the low end torque on these motors is phenomenal. And with most any diesel engines that are of this nature, a straight, what I call a good true straight inline six, turbo diesel. I've never had a Ford or a Chevy diesel, which those are your V8 diesels, but it's just a different physics to the motor than this straight inline six. I mean, this is a longer stroke motor, I would believe, than the V8s. It is a larger bore piston. It is just a torque. I mean, it's just built for torque. And anybody pulling anything, especially from a farming point of view and tractors, you're working a tractor to its limit with the plow or whatever it might be. Torque's the key factor there. How much torque is the motor putting out, which equates to the power that you need. Yeah, I mean, any Cummins, the 5.9s, the 12 valves, the 24 valves, and up to these 6.7, they're gonna pull. I mean, they're just pulling motors. One thing about this motor that surprises me is it turbo lag is something that I've noticed in the past, and I noticed it on my '05 probably the most, but in the '08 had a little bit. I mean, this motor isn't really. This is still, the variable geometry turbo that came out on the 6.7s. I mean, this is the same one. It was on my '08, and maybe it's fuel timing a little bit as far as electronic injection is concerned on this truck. But this truck, if you're on the highway and you punch it, yeah, it don't have as much turbo lag as some of the ones in the past. And I ain't gonna say it's non-existent. It's still there. There's still just that real brief, it's not gonna do anything, and then it's like full on, pin you back in your seat, hang on for the ride. But it will get up and go. I mean, it is surprising how fast it'll go, and I'm not one to speed and fly and hot rod a truck. But there's been some times, and there was one here recently where I was on the interstate and I needed to merge, and there was traffic behind me. I couldn't just slow down and merge, but I had a gap just up ahead of me I could get. And I didn't really need to get up that fast to do it, but I laid into it, and I went from 70 to 90, and I didn't even realize it. I mean, I was concentrating on merging and not hitting anybody, but when I finally merged and looked back over at my speedometer, I had hit 90. I was like, whoa, slow down, I'm going to get a ticket or something here. But that was unloaded, just the truck. the pickup on it's really good. Um, so that's just briefly talking about the motor. Um, this does have the ram air, or not ram, I should call it ram air, active air. I seen that ram, I want to say it. You know, back you used to have the old uh, muscle cars and the scoops on the hood and ram air. You could say this is a similar thing, but it's not really ram air. I mean, this is a turbocharged motor, so forcing air into it, I don't think is really gonna buy you anything. But what it's there for, there's a big horn in here. You can kind of see it. You can see a flap up in there. Maybe it's closed right now. But this airbox has two inlets to it. One's down here. You can see the tube running to this horn. There's the front of the horn right there. Air intake horn, not the actual horn. And there's another foam piece down here where the normal intake comes through this fender well here. What that's there for is if you're towing, pulling something, it's there to pull cool air into the airbox, cooler air than might exist over here. And in return, that equates to a little bit more power. And it cools the turbo down a little bit probably too at the same time. But you know, it's an intercooled diesel. You know, those have been around for years, and you know, the whole point of that is to get the air going into the motor as cool as possible, because in turn that creates a little bit more powerful combustion, I shouldn't say compression, a little bit stronger combustion explosion in the motor, and equates to a little bit more power. So what they've done is found a way to get more cool air in here when it's needed. That's why there's a flap in there, so it's not always on. And that will in turn get you a little bit more cooler air into the motor and give you a little bit more power. But other than that, the engine's pretty much the same as my 08 6.7. Don't think there's a whole lot of changes to it really. The EGR cooler is smaller. I believe than my 08. I believe my 08 was a little bit longer. Maybe it come out a little further or went back further into the engine bay area there. But I believe that is a little bit smaller, and that may be again in return that it does have diesel exhaust fluid now as part of the after treatment of the exhaust. But yeah, like I said, there's not really from the 08 6.7 to this 2015 not really much difference. I think a lot of the differences is the electronics and the timing of the fuel and the injectors and whatnot going on there to give you more horsepower and torque. I mean, the block on these, the blocks and the pistons and all the internal workings of this motor is so beefy that, you know, it's just easy for them to change fuel timing and different parameters electrically to boost horsepower, which, you know, people have been doing that for years with the tuners. I don't, you know, I don't buy one. I did have one on my 08, but I didn't really tune it for any power. It was just to monitor different things. But you know, people have bought those tuners for years when they went to electronic injection, you know, and then go in there and tune the parameters of the timing of the injection all and get more power out of them. So as maybe other manufacturers have struggled to keep up with the power and torque curves that this engine has produced, you know, they may have had to actually change mechanicals in certain things, where these motors is just they just change the programming a little bit and keep carrying on. That's just one of the, I guess, benefits that the Cummins had to be able to do that. Uh, but you know, it's plenty powerful. Mine of all the ones I've had have been plenty powerful enough for me. Now, I do pull with this truck. Like I said, I've got 30-foot dual tandem gooseneck over there. I've got a 14,000 pound weight or haul weight dump trailer over there. I do have a cattle trailer sitting over there. Gooseneck. They're all gooseneck. Well, no, dump trailer's not gooseneck. Dump trailer's bumper pull. I have a nurse tank wagon over here that can get pretty heavy loaded. I've got that. Various other things, fertilizer spreader buggies, you name it, I pull them. But by far right now, the heaviest pulling thing I got would be my 30-foot deal tandem gooseneck over there. Like I said, I could get 18 rolls of hay on that trailer. I have put 18 rolls of hay multiple times and pulled with this truck. And, you know, if you figure that 800 to 1,000 pounds a roll, if we say 1,000 pounds a roll, that usually equates 18,000 pounds. Then you probably add at least 5 to 5,500 pounds for the weight of the trailer. And then this truck probably weighs 7,500 pounds around, so, and you've got over 30,000 pounds there real easy. I do have the truck tagged for 30,000 pounds. Truck has a GVWR rating of 10,000 pounds as this truck is set up, which ain't bad for 3/4 ton. I think my 08 ton was 12,100 pounds. That was a dealie. So we're only 2,100 pounds shy, or 1 ton shy of that with this truck for a single rear 3/4 ton with a coil spring suspension. But yeah, I have pulled that weight I just mentioned hauling hay on that gooseneck multiple times now and have had no issues with the truck pulling. Like I said, it is a 6-speed automatic. It does have the should I say the higher gear ratio, rear axle 3, I don't remember what it is. I have to find the window sticker on that, but it does have the higher one, if I'm saying that right, of the ones that are available. So that's to its disadvantage, I guess, as far as pulling goes, but it's to its advantage as far as fuel mileage goes. So again, I need it as a daily driver, but I also need it as a farm truck to be able to pull heavy loads. So it's the best of both worlds as I can get it right now. But the transmission, yeah, it's the same transmission I had in my 08 pretty much. I don't know what improvements have been made. It's the, what is it, 68 RFE or something like that. It's not the ASIN or ISIN transmission, which is an option, but that's only available, I think, on the ton trucks. But so far so good. Only time will tell on the transmission. You know, historically, I think Dodge and Ram have had a little bit of a bad rap on their automatic transmissions holding up, pulling loads and whatnot. But I've read a lot of things about this transmission holding up better than people expected. And you know, there's a big debate out there online with people buying these trucks to whether to buy uh, the uh, the standard 6-speed automatic or the ACEN or ICEN, however you want to say that, automatic. That ACEN transmission is supposed to be heavier duty, but and it may well be. Um, but some people have said this 68 R3 or whatever has held up as equally well. Um, but you know, it's an automatic transmission. They all seem to, you know, last so long and have their issues, so it'll be what it'll be. But other than that, it has shift good. It don't give me problems. Towing wise, hauling that weight that I just mentioned, with that gooseneck trailer, it'll stay in fifth gear until you get over 65 mile an hour. So it will stay geared down a gear, um, but you know, everything seems to work okay. Um, the exhaust brake is an improvement. It's the same exhaust brake as my '08, I do believe. I think they've just figured out a way to control it a little differently. It acts in one mode. It has two modes now. One mode it acts just like my '08. The other mode is well, there's a full exhaust brake mode, and then there's a kind of a, I forget what they call it, but a maintained speed kind of exhaust brake mode. So I guess the best way for me to describe that is you got one mode for maybe you say towing, and you got one mode for just everyday use if you want to use it that isn't as aggressive as a exhaust brake as with when you're towing. So there is two modes on that. The tow haul mode, I've never liked tow haul modes in these trucks. I hated the '08. I never did use it. I actually used the little button to manually shift gears on it when I was towing almost all the time when I towed with it, because I felt like I knew better where it needed to shift than where the tow haul mode felt that it needed to shift, which it wanted to shift at very high RPMs. I did not like that. This one, on contrary, as far as taking off from a standstill and letting it do its own thing in tow haul mode, works quite well. I'm okay with that. I'm also like how it, with the exhaust brake on, if you gradually come down to a stop, it'll slowly start shifting down gears and holding the truck back with the exhaust brake without over revving the engine. Keeps it, you know, 2,000 RPM or below. If you coming down to a slight slow gradual stop, as you should if you're loaded that heavy. Um, that works okay. In my '08 there was a difference there, and I don't. It's probably programming that has changed between then and now. But on the '08, it was very violent. If you had tow haul mode on and the exhaust brake and a trailer behind you, it felt like it was just going to throw you through the front windshield, and your trailer was going to come through the back windshield. And that was another reason I never ran tow haul mode in it. This one, however, is working a little differently and better. My only gripe is going downhill. If you got the exhaust brake on, you got tow haul mode on. I've got a couple hills down here that they're kind of long downhill grades. So as I start down those hills, I let off the accelerator and I start letting the exhaust brake do its thing. However, being loaded like I am, I do need to lightly use the brakes and the trailer brakes to keep me from getting too fast going down the hill. Even though the exhaust brake is still holding me back and doing a good job of it, I still need to use that depending on how heavy I'm loaded. Well, as soon as you tap the brake with the tow haul mode on, it decides, hey, we're slowing down. downshift. Well, when you're doing 18 to 2000 RPM and it downshifts, it really shoots the RPMs of the engine up, and I don't like that. I've never liked on any diesel engine over revving diesel. I hear people doing it all the time, but I guess it was just something my dad taught me a long time ago with tractors and whatnot. Just, there's no need to over rev a diesel engine. I mean, it's not like a gas engine that can rev up to 7,000, 8,000 RPM, screaming. I mean, this thing redlines at, I think, 3,500, 4,000 RPM. So when I see it downshift like that, loaded, and see them RPM shoot up in the 3,000 RPM range, I really don't like hearing it scream like that. And what's bad about it is when it does it, you can't get it out. You can turn tow haul mode off, but it will stay locked in that gear till you get to the bottom and then put your foot back on the accelerator, and then it will shift back out and bring your RPMs down. And that's just something I don't like. I have learned when I'm coming to the top of a hill loaded like that, I know it's coming. I'll turn tow haul mode off and just let the exhaust brake do its thing all the way down. When I get down to the bottom, I'll turn tow haul mode back on. Other than that, tow haul mode's been okay on this truck, but I don't like the downshifting part when you put your foot on the brake going downhill, because I'm not trying to slow down really. I'm just, say the speed limit's 55 mile an hour and I'm doing 50 to 55 when I start down the hill. I want to try to maintain that speed and not go over that going down the hill, because I could just let it fly on down the hill, but if somebody pulls out in front of me part way down or at the bottom or something, I gotta stop, so try to keep it safe, but I don't want to over rev the engine at the same time. Yeah, that's just my take on the tow haul mode feature. I was trying to think anything else here. It still has the cold weather idle mode, and I can manually activate that if I want to. If you want to warm the engine up quicker or whatever, there is a way to go into a high idle mode while it's setting still, so it ain't just at an idle. It's at, like, I think it's 1100 RPM. You can increase it up to 1500, I think, but the way you do that is when the truck's running, you have to have it active, and I think probably most of them come with it active when you buy them, but it's something a dealer can activate for you if it don't work. Turn the cruise on. Well, let me back up. First thing you do is you put your parking brake, your emergency brake on. So you're in park, put your emergency brake on. Turn your cruise on, hit set, and when you hit set, it will go up in RPM. And it will stay that way until you either turn the cruise control off or touch the brake pedal, and it will drop back down to a normal idle. But that is handy on a cold day if you're wanting to warm the truck up or de-ice it or something like that before you take off hauling. Something else, I don't know on this truck if they fixed this problem or not. I know on my 08 it was an issue. I never did have the issue, but I heard of the issue. Head gasket issue on the 6.7s. When they made the 6.7 engine, they pretty much took the 5.9 block and bored it out a little bit bigger, and what it did was it decreased the spacing between the cylinder walls, between the cylinders, and I think that therefore the head gasket was a little bit smaller. And what would happen would be on a cold day, if I understand the scenario right, if you jumped in the truck, started up on a cold day, and say took off hauling something with it, So you're in a situation where you're heating the motor up really quick. Uh, the difference between the block and that gasket and everything heating up, and say the temperature of the coolant accelerating and heat really fast, would blow that head gasket between the cylinders. I was aware of that happening on my '08. So I never did see it happen, but I was aware it could. So I always let the engine warm up good before I took off hauling. If it was a cold day, I would let it run for a little while, and let the engine get up to temperature before I actually took off hauling. And I never did have an issue. I haven't read whether they have this issue on these or not. I do think if I remember correctly, on some of the older ones, when you had that issue, there was a different head gasket you could get, excuse me, that would prevent that. But and I may have went to something like that on now where that may not be an issue anymore. But either way, it is a good practice, in my opinion, if you are going to take off towing something heavy and heat the motor up really fast on a cold day. It probably is a good idea to let it idle. Put it in that high idle mode and let it run for just a little bit, and let all the fluids in the block and everything kind of slowly warm up together before you really, get it out there and start heating, heating it up really fast. And probably better on the turbo and all too, because you know, exhaust gas temperatures around the turbocharger can reach, really high, if you're pulling really heavy. But anywho, I have went on over an hour here about this truck, and I don't know if any of this has been informative to any of you or not. But I'm pleased with the truck so far. Going back to these tires, I have noticed a little bit of wear on the sides of these front tires compared to, say, these backs. You can see are a little bit flatter, so I am due a tire rotation. I'll probably just do that myself here. Rotate the tires around, move the backs up to the front, and I'll look in the manual, but probably crisscross them one way or the other when I do that. But yeah, these tires, both fronts, are wearing, looks like equally inside and out. Now the front tires are running at 60 psi, and I do keep a check on that. The backs run at 80, so I would think, not towing all the time with it, I'd see some center wear on the back, but they seem to be holding up fairly well. So it's probably just the nature of these tires being on the front and steering and turning and whatnot. So I will be rotating the tires here before too long. They are 18-inch wheels, versus my previous trucks, which were 16s and 17s. The '08 had 17s on it. But I got 70,000 miles out of a set of tires on that truck. So, yeah, we'll see how these do. Like I said, these tires ride good. They do catch rocks. They sling a lot of rocks. So I have, well, you can see them on gravel here, but there's a gravel road up here. I go and check my cows and whatnot. So they do pick up a lot of rocks and sling them. That's another gripe on the tires. But yeah, I ain't got any other really gripes about the truck too much. It's doing well. I'm pleased with fuel mileage. It's towing good, other than the tow haul mode issue I mentioned. I do have that exhaust leak that I'm pretty positive I know what the problem is on that. I just gotta take the time and get under there and just check those clamps. My reading online has pretty well showed that that's the issue. I mean, it is a base truck for the most part, and it's got everything I need. I do use my phone with the Bluetooth and play music. All that is good. It has all the feature comforts that I want, and not too many. And you know, it's just right as far as that's concerned. Um, the only thing on the interior that has been something that it hadn't been a problem, but it's aggravating sometimes, and I don't know if it will lead to a problem. But these buttons right here I was telling you about, sometimes I press them and they don't do anything. Sometimes you have to kind of like press and hold them in, or really press hard on them for them to work. And they've always worked. They just, you know, if you just lightly touch them, it just doesn't seem to work sometimes. So I don't know what the deal with these buttons are, but you know, it is what it is. It does have automatic headlights. I failed to note that. They seem to work okay. I want to say GM was one of the first ones that came out with automatic headlights back in, let's say late 90s, early 2000s. And I will have to say, as far as the sensor on the automatic headlights was probably a little bit better on that Silverado, that or that Chevy that I just had, than this one. This one seems to get a little bit more confused going from a shady, dark area to a sunny area and back out on turning the headlights on and off automatically, where the Chevy would hold the lights on longer, let's say, before saying, okay, it's bright enough to turn them off. But I mean, it's okay. The lights do come on when you turn the windshield wipers on in this truck. I do like that. I mean, that's the law, I guess, in most all states now, that, you know, it's raining, headlights, you turn your headlights on. So as soon as you turn your wipers on, your headlights come on. So even if it's, you know, kind of bright outside and drizzly, you know, that works. It also appears, I haven't confirmed this, but it appears that it turns the defrost on slightly when turning the windshield wipers on, because I have noticed cooler air, the sensation of cooler air in the truck just shortly after I turn the windshield wipers on, which leads me to believe it's turning the defroster onto the windshield, which you most of the time have to do when you're in a rainy environment, to keep the windshield from fogging over inside. So they've kind of made that an automatic feature, looks like. So that's interesting. But yeah, I don't know much what else to say about it. Like I said, I showed you the rear suspension on it. The front suspension is different too. I did not denote that from my previous trucks. They've went from a 4-link front suspension to a single long link. You might can see this long bar right here, and it bolts up in here with 2 joints instead of having 2 bars, and then the coil spring and the shock separated there. So that is a little bit different design too. I think it gives you a little bit tighter turning radius, if I remember right, and it takes weight. That bar being longer, it takes weight from the rear of the truck. Say when you're loaded with a gooseneck, and distributes it further forward in the truck, so the whole truck is taking on that weight a little bit better than if those points of attachment to the front axle were moved forward, say. So I do like that. So you don't get as much front end rise on the truck. So it moves that weight a little bit forward, which makes the truck a little bit more stable in steering and all. And shares that load across the truck, so that's pretty good. And they've also beefed up the U-joints and pivot points, I think those ball joints and whatnot, that are at the front wheels here on the front axle. So all that's bigger and beefier. which should last longer. I think that had always been an issue in the past with the straight front axle four-wheel drive Cummins. I mean, that motor's heavy. There's a lot of weight on the front of that truck. Uh, and I'll go ahead and tell you, if you're looking at one of these trucks and you're in any kind of environment where you're going to be off good gravel or pavement, off in a grassy or slick area, get a four-wheel drive. Do not get a two-wheel drive truck. They're so heavy in the front that if you get a two-wheel drive truck and you get in the least slick situation, the back wheels are going to spin. And they'll get stuck very easily. So go ahead and get the four-wheel drive, which most of these on the lots I see are four-wheel drive, but you do see occasional two-wheel drive. But if you're always going to be on pavement or highway or whatever, then two-wheel drive's fine. But anyhow, yeah, the front axle was an issue. Those ball joints and whatnot, and those U joints would wear out around. Then some of them probably wear out around as close to 100,000 miles, which was kind of early. So it looks like they've beefed all that up to last a little bit longer before they have to be rebuilt or replaced. But yeah, with that said, I've went on an hour and 21 minutes here. If you've made it this long, thanks for watching, and that's just kind of my take on the truck right now. Like I said, I told some of my subscribers I would do a review on this truck. I'm sorry this turned out to be kind of lengthy. I should have split it up in parts. I still could split it up in parts, but we'll see. That's that. I just wanted to go around and give you what my thoughts and impressions were. I didn't want to go into too much detail on them. I could have went in and showed you the radio and all that kind of stuff. But there's hundreds of videos out there on these trucks and the different things. So I just kind of wanted to give you my point of view on it, kind of a perspective from a farming point of view and using it here on the farm, and compare a few things and just kind of let it be from there. So again, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, comments, feel free to leave those, and I will read those and reply as I see them, if I see them and whatnot. But anyway, I know these trucks are a huge debate out there, and especially in the diesel truck world, which one's the best one, which one's the worst one, and whatnot. I'm not going to get into that, so don't even start that debate in the comment, because there's just no need in it. I just wanted to go around this truck as it is for what it is, and hopefully anybody out there that's looking at diesel trucks, I'm not going to tell you which one to buy, but as far as information regarding this one, maybe this helped you out, or you found it informative somewhat, and it'll be useful to you. Again, thanks for watching. See y'all.